Hey everyone, and welcome back to What Did I Miss? Where today I'm breaking down all the Easter eggs and things that you may have missed in the second trailer for the second season of Star Trek Picard. Before I get into that, in case you missed it, Paramount did announce that not only is a third season officially greenlit for this show, which has just started filming, but also that the second season would be arriving in February of 2022. Also, if you do enjoy this video, please remember to leave a like as it really does help support the channel. The trailer begins with Jean-Luc Picard walking into an atrium at his family's vineyard as we hear a woman ask if Picard is seeking or running from something by going to space. The room is damaged with broken glass on the floor, signifying that something in Picard's past has been broken, and in fact we do hear Seven later in the trailer state that time itself has been broken. We then get some quick shots that include one of the Picard family estate, and you can now see a large city in the background, which I do not believe was there before. Next we see Q in the same scene that he was in during the first trailer, reminding Picard about how the trial never ends. This is referencing the first time the two met in the Next Generation episode Encounter at Farpoint, in which Q put Picard as well as humanity on trial for their actions. Picard is not happy at all to see him, as we get a shot of the famous Q snap, indicating that he has indeed changed the timeline. Next we get a shot of a city that looks like could be from our time or shortly after, and it is getting attacked. This may be the event that changes history, and I will get into my theory about that a bit later in the video, but it is obvious that this is a big event in the new timeline. We then get a shot of Rios saying that something has moved them. The trailer implies that he is talking about time, but he may just be referring to a ship being moved by something unseen. Rios is in some type of uniform, and even his ship seems to have somehow been converted over to whatever organization he is fighting for, as there is a logo that matches his pendant on his chair. We later see that Picard and Agnes are wearing the same pendant. Then we get a really cool shot, which I know some people are saying proves that Picard is a dictator in this new future, but I don't think that is the case, and that this is in fact an updated version of the setting used in the Encounter at Farpoint courtroom scene. Whatever Q changed in the past is inferred to have happened in the 21st century, which would have been before these types of courts were created. This must mean that what happened also affected this part of Earth's future history, and maybe this is a hint that Earth never evolved past the post-atomic horror, and instead rose to prominence in the galaxy because of it. Even Picard refers to the future that Q created as a totalitarian nightmare. Either way, I can't wait to see John Delancey in the big red robes again. We then see Seven, who is now Annika Hansen, having never been assimilated by the Borg. This makes sense, and not just because it appears that the Borg were defeated, which I will get into a bit later, but Seven was assimilated as a child when her parents were studying the Borg for scientific research, like Diane Fossey in the Gorillas of the Mist. So if Earth was a totalitarian regime, then they would have no use for such research, so Annika's parents were probably never even scientists, which would have kept her from being in space as a child and being assimilated. Next, Annika is speaking with Picard and others, stating that time has been broken. It looks to me like she is wearing a different pendant than Picard and Rios are, which probably means that she is not a member of Starfleet, or whatever the organization is called in this new future. As Picard, Raffi, and Elnor walk away, Picard states that he will get them home, as the same flags that were in the new courtroom scene appear on the walls behind them. It also looks like the pendant that Annika is wearing has the same signet as the one on the flags, which may be a hint that she is part of the government. Next we get another really interesting shot as Picard approaches a painting in his house of a Starfleet officer. It almost looks like Picard, but I think this is a misdirect. I think that this is Picard's father, and that history has been changed so much that his family no longer made wine, and instead his father was an officer. I say this because the collar of the man in the painting matches the uniforms from the earlier era of Starfleet towards the later half of the movies involving the original series cast. If this is true, it has to be a huge mind F to Picard that his father, whom he thought hated the fact that he grew up and joined Starfleet, was an officer in this new timeline. We then see Picard tell Annika, Raffi, Elnor, and Agnes that the way to fix their present is in the past. But if you notice, Annika is not looking at Picard but looking off to the side and looks especially worried. I think this is explained in the following scene as we see a reveal of the Borg Queen. She is definitely behind some sort of force field, as a green energy flashes for a second when she stops moving and may only have part of her upper torso, similar to the form of her we saw lowering down in the movie First Contact. I think this implies that Earth at some point defeated the Borg in battle and were able to capture a Borg Queen. I put out a video last week about what I think adding her to the cast means for the show, and I will link it here and in the description if you would like to watch it. But after seeing this trailer, I now think that the Queen may only have a few scenes in this season and come back as a major antagonist for the third season. I say this not just because the casting was announced right before the third season was also officially announced, but because in the trailer the Queen is in a very weakened state at this point. It looks like Picard and the crew are using her to assist them in traveling through time, something the Borg did in the movie First Contact. We see someone plugging her into something, and this could actually be her interfacing with Picard now that he is in an android body. This would be quite a trick, as this would mean that Picard would be assimilating the Borg Queen's knowledge of time travel. But part of me thinks that Q is going to reset Picard back into his human body as part of the changes, and say that in this future, medical science had progressed to the point where the ailment that killed him could be cured. So if anything, I believe that my theory about what the Borg Queen is there to do as an antagonist may have to wait until the third season after Picard is able to restore the timeline, which would likely restore her back to prominence. Also, if you think there can only be one Borg Queen, watch my video as I explain why that is not the case. Next, we see that the crew has been transported to California of the 21st century. The shot of Santa Monica Pier is especially important to Trek, as that is where the crew of the Voyager visited in the 20th century in the two-part episode Future's End, one of my favorites of the series. We then get a bunch of quick shots of the crew in the 21st century, and it looks like Elnor is not in any of these shots. This makes me think that he does not make the trip back in time, which does make sense, as how would they explain a Romulan in the 21st century? Come to think of it, maybe in LA they could get away with it. Also in these quick shots is a scene with a young Jean-Luc Picard in the atrium at Chateau Picard. I believe the same woman is speaking to him there that we hear earlier in the trailer, and she may be the influence that sent him on his path as an explorer. We know that Picard had a difficult childhood because he did not want to stay on Earth and could not wait to leave against his father's wishes. After some more quick shots, we see Q sitting down and snapping his fingers once again. He is wearing a jacket that has a patch for the Europa mission, an event that was also referenced on a bus in a leaked set photo. Europa is a moon that orbits Saturn and is regarded as one of the most likely locations in the galaxy for potential habitability. So this could be Earth's first attempt to colonize a surface other than our own planet for human beings. This mission may be the event that Q changes that affects Earth's history so drastically. Or Q could have affected first contact with the Vulcans, as we see a shot of what looks like Vulcans on Earth. The lighting is very reminiscent of an alien encounter, so this makes me think that either Q directly influenced these events, or whatever he did before this also changed Earth's first contact with Vulcans. We then get a shot of the Borg Queen with Agnes, and it appears that the Queen is trying to appeal to her so that she will help her. Agnes has already shown to have really bad judgment and to be obsessed with robotics and cybernetics, so I'm guessing that she will be the cause of the Queen escaping and once again rising to power. We also get a shot of Raffi crying over Elnor, and this may be her saying goodbye, knowing that he cannot come with them back in time. A second or two after this shot, we do see him fighting what look like Romulans, so he may have to be sacrificed so that the rest of the crew can make it back in time. I think it is safe to assume, though, that if and when Picard is successful, that his life will be restored. Next, we get a shot of Picard and Rios in tuxedos with a woman who creates a bright light as they shield their eyes. I think that this is the same woman who was with a young Picard earlier in the trailer, which would mean that she could be a type of ageless, omnipotent being like Q that has been influencing Picard's life as an explorer. She may be the reason why Q became interested in Picard in the first place. Then we get a shot of Raffi doing her best impersonation of the Uhura slap behind a fence that has a sign for a sanctuary district. This brought me chills because this is a direct reference to the Deep Space Nine episode Past Tense that is amazing, and if you have not seen it yet, you are doing yourself a disservice. But to quickly sum up, in the episode, Sisko, Bashir, and Jadzia Dax go back in time to the year 2024 and witness what San Francisco was like, and it was not good. Poor and indigent people were put into walled-off areas of the city that were known as sanctuary districts and basically left to fend for themselves. Since the crew will be going back in time to California just years before this event, these sanctuary districts are probably operating in Los Angeles as well. Next, we get a shot of Picard being interrogated and Rios on a prison bus, which means that they must be arrested, similar to what happens to Sisko and Bashir in the Past Tense episode. Well, that was everything I saw in the trailer, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you for clicking on this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?